Thank you. And I'd like the commissioners to introduce themselves, and we'll start with Ann.
Ann Carpenter, District 1.
Jeremy McCullum, District 7.
Verge Anderson, Granite Bay.
John Bergman, District 2.
Richard Kapp, Seat 2.
And would the staff introduce themselves, please?
Tracy Hodgson.
Lisa Carnahan, Senior Planner in Parks.
Kyle Smith, Principal Planner in Parks.
Andy Fisher, Parks Administrator.
Casey Lyons, Senior Supervising Parks Worker.
Dan Fauner, Parks Superintendent.
Thank you. All right. You have the agenda, tonight's agenda in front of you. I'm assuming you've read that? It's been perused? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the Placer County Parks Commission, September 19th, 2024 meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. The approval of tonight's agenda has been passed. Now we have the meeting minutes for July 18th. There are two corrections in there. You'll notice that they're in red. One on the first page, one on the second page.
Verge, the first one wasn't a correction. He was supposed to leave, or he was supposed to give the presentation and he didn't, so I put
Okay.
back the other person.
All right. Thank you. Have you read the minutes? And if you have, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Is there-
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Bergman abstains. I was absent.
All right. At this time, we'd like to open up the meeting to public comment. During this item, the public may address the commission on items not on the agenda. This public comment period is limited to 15 minutes, so please limit comments to 3 minutes per person. If all comments cannot be heard within the 15-minute time limit, the public comment period will be taken up at the end of the regular meeting. The commission is not permitted to take any action on items addressed under this item. Is there anybody who has a public comment?
Are we on Zoom? Do we have anybody online?
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public comment session. Next item is a report from the administrator.
Dan's going to start that one, and I'm going to finish it. So take it away, Dan.
So first off, I want to start by introducing our newest member to the Parks team, Kyle, and I want to give him a minute to tell us a little bit about himself. I know some of you got to meet him today, but I want to give him some time to talk.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you, and it was a pleasure going around the region today with you all. So my name is Kyle Smith, and I am your new Principal Planner here in the Parks Department. I've been on the job for a little less than 3 weeks so far, so if you have any really tough questions, make sure you still contact Andy or Lisa here. But a little bit about me. I grew up in the Sacramento region in the Orangevale area, not too far away from where most of you represent. Spent a little time in the Army and then did my undergrad at Davis. Started working for the state as a planner for a few years. Went to grad school in Texas to get my graduate degree in community and regional planning. Came back and continued to work at the state as a planner in the Office of Planning and Research. Spent some time at SACOG, our regional planning agency. And then have spent the last about 4 years in Nevada County as a planner prior to coming here. So doing a lot of time planning around the region, and I'm happy to be here working for you as a parks planner.
Thank you. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
So I had a couple things. I wanted to talk about some staffing. recently we had one of our field staff, Brian Brogdon, retire after 30 years of service to Placer County Parks. I just wanted to give him a nod to the commission as we had a going away party for him, and then we had another gentleman who had been with us for about 20 years retire, Tim Mathern. So we are bringing on some new staff to fill those vacancies, but I just wanted to give them a nod for their service to the community. Additionally, we have another gentleman leaving us very soon, as you all know. November 13th, we are planning a lunch party for Mr. Andy Fisher. I don't know if you've heard it or not, but he's retiring.
You are. I won't be around that day.
Either way, we're still going to have a party. So,
I'll remote in.
Next week, Tracy and I will be sending out invitations to all the park commissioners and our friends in Tahoe to invite them to come down and honor Andy for his almost 37 years of service, because he was an extra help for a couple of years. And then he's been full-time for 35, so we're going to honor him with lunch, and that's all he gets. No, I'm just, but we're not excited to see him to go, but we are excited for him to the next chapter of his life. That's not in the order. I also wanted to remind you guys, we had a conversation at the last Parks Commission meeting that the California Parks and Recreation Society Exposition Conference is coming to Sacramento in March. I wanted to let you know you're all invited. You guys are de facto members of the CPRS membership underneath, Parks. And so we will probably be taking quite a few staff members down. So it is 4 days, but typically Tuesday is reserved for like administrators and yourself, like parks commissioners. And then the next 2 days, there's a lot of classes that are heavy on the trade itself and what trends are happening in parks. They have a huge exposition floor downstairs where they have all the latest equipment. I know my guys are really excited to see all the new electric stuff and see what it looks like. So there'll probably be a bunch of that there. And then it goes all the way to Friday. Friday's more of a social day. We don't go typically on Friday because it's more like a vendor fair where they invite everybody and sales pitch. But typically we take staff on Wednesday and Thursday. But when the agenda is printed that shows what some of the training things are that may benefit you as a commissioner, I will make sure we get those in your hand. But we will probably try to register after the holidays, maybe in January. So it gives you a little time to think about it, but I just wanted to put this in here to remind you that that is coming to Sacramento. It's only here once every 3 years, so even if you can only come one day, we'd love to take you with us down there. We usually take the van and a handful of staff, and a couple of the Alphas folks usually go, so I want to make sure I just keep that in the back of your mind, so if you're interested, we can make that happen. And that was it. I just wanted to remind everybody about that, and I am going to kick back one slide so Andy can talk about the park dedication fee update.
Before we go there, I just want to tie on to the end of the administrator's report with a few other items. Dan mentioned my retirement. The CEO's office and board were generous enough to kick some extra money into the budget this year to pay for some overlap time for my replacement. So we are actively recruiting. We have got some candidates of interest. We'll have second interviews. The position is still open, so we're still making that available for anybody that's, it was a fairly short recruitment, so we're keeping it open. But we will be having interviews, I guess, on the 30th of this month, I believe. So hopefully by the time you meet again, they'll be able to announce who the next administrator is. The Board of Supervisors just approved a contract. Actually, didn't have to go to the board. It wasn't a high enough dollar amount, but it's with RSG Inc. And it's to help us with a study, a West Placer service level study. You may recall around 2017, the board and the LAFCO, Local Agency Formation Commission, formed the Placer Vineyards Park and Recreation District. Its boundary is around the Placer Vineyards subdivision today. And with new boards, with new administration, with new ways of doing business at the county, there was some interest on our board to take another look at how we do recreation in West Placer. Should it be a district? Should it be county? If it's a district, what type? Independent versus dependent? And if it's going to be a district, what should that sphere of influence be? So it was one last time before there's a great deal of population out there where things get much more complex to change. So we brought in RSG at the recommendation of LAFCO. They're a government agency consulting business, is what they do, is make recommendations on government function, government operations. And so we hope within the next 9 months or so, we'll be drawing your commission in closely on this project to lay out a matrix of what are the pros and cons of all the different viable options for West Placer governance. So stay tuned for that. We just inked the contract with them. It's just in kickoff mode, so we're not quite at the level of bringing it to you as an action item or an informational item, but that will be coming soon. So that's one of our bigger initiatives coming up. Did want to give a shout out to Jason and Dina for the closeout of the fiscal year 2023-24 budget. It closed out in August. Our operating budget, roughly with all of the assessment districts and things that go into our operating budget, is roughly a $10 million budget, give or take. We came in the black, $178,000, which was really picture perfect, for us. It gave the CEO's office some confidence. I hope in next year's budget we'll be requesting some additional positions and things like that. So I think showing how well, and this is a track record since Dina's been here, we've come in very, very well on every budget. So I think we built some good confidence. I was amused listening to our auditor talk to the board at our last board meeting, talking about what to do about some of the departments that didn't come in as well as us, and just kind of sitting back gloating through all that because we did very well. And we'll try to capitalize on that confidence that Dina and Jason have helped build with the CEO's office going forward with some new requests now that they know we can manage the money we have very well, and we can. So thank you, Dina. I'm not sure where Jason went, but thank you to Jason too. Let's see, and finally, I did want to announce one of your past colleagues, Anthony Freitas, who represented District 5. He had Jim Ricker's seat. He was from Applegate. He was a commissioner probably the first couple years that I came to Parks, 2003, 2004, and I'm not sure when he started. I believe it was somewhere in the late 90s. Got a text message, got notification from my predecessor, John Ramirez, this week that Tony passed away. So I wanted to announce that and remember Tony. And that's all I had for the admin report.
Thank you. At this point, we will move to the information items. The first is an update from Tahoe City Public Utility District, and am I pronouncing the name right? Indra?
Yes.
Yes, Windcrest.
Just push that and hold it down for a sec.
Check. Yes, you got my name right, which is rare. Thank you. One of the main reasons, first of all, thank you, Andy, for the invite. I appreciate it. I started with Tahoe City PUD 6 months ago. As you all are probably aware, we have a lot of interaction with Placer County through operating agreements, our maintenance agreement, our snow removal agreement on the trails, as well as Commons Beach. So it's been nice to get to know Andy a little bit, started working with Dan, and so we really appreciate our strong relationship with the county. So just a few updates of things that might be of interest to you. You're probably aware that we're working on our North Shore Trails project. So from Dollar Point down to Lake Forest Road and down into town, that project will be substantially complete, hopefully by the end of next week. We are doing some paving and patching from Star Harbor to Lighthouse Center, and that should also be wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. So excited to get that portion of the trail rehabbed and several sections of it replaced. We will then start transitioning to the West Shore Trail. So we're currently working with our funding partners we have a tremendous amount of work to do on the West Shore Trail. So we're trying to, determine how we can, make it all work within the next couple of years. And it'll likely be a phased project. This year we also did a bunch of repairs, sealing and striping and crack filling of the Truckee River Trail. And so that trail is in excellent condition now. And all of our trails get a tremendous amount of use. We do own, manage, and maintain approximately 23 miles of trails, and they're not just used for recreation. A lot of folks use them as alternative transportation to get in and out of town, to go to work, to get to school, get to the beaches or whatever. So definitely multi-use trails. A couple other things, you may be familiar with Kilner Park, which is on the West Shore. We had a lot of discussions today about pickleball. And so we have a thriving pickleball community in Tahoe City as well. So we recently resurfaced all of the courts down there. And then also, we just wrapped up our last Sunday of music at Commons Beach a couple Sundays ago. So again, we manage and operate Commons Beach through an operating agreement with the county, and we work directly with the Tahoe City Downtown Association on that event. So we estimate on average anywhere from 1,500 to 1,800 people per Sunday for the entirety of the summer. So another very successful summer. Those are my updates for today. Again, thanks for the invite, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commissioners?
How did the drone show do?
The drone show, it went well. Obviously 4th of July, it was extremely busy. We have events all day, so one thing that we've learned is that having the drone show is one thing, but to have people there all day with no entertainment or nothing else for them to do, was starting to be a little bit problematic. So the TCDA, we had DJs, we had events for kids, we had all kinds of activities that we had all day. The drone show itself went very well. Obviously, there's a lot of people in the basin that would prefer to see fireworks, traditional fireworks, but for a lot of good reasons, some of the municipalities have transitioned to drone shows. When I was working in Incline for IVGID, we had transitioned to drones over there, but then they went back to fireworks this last year. So we'll see where the future takes us. But the fireworks is put on by TCDA as well. But overall, great event, well attended, and safety was paramount. We didn't seem to have any issues. So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Can staff ask a question? No. And sorry, this might be putting you on the spot. I'm not sure. I meant to ask you to have it as kind of an item, but with the active recreation study that you guys did, and it could be Amanda or Indra, either one, where is that at right now? And maybe describe it for the commission in, kind of the 25 words or less, kind of what it is and where it's going from here, and then there may be a good time to dive more deeply into it at another meeting. But
I can give you a couple updates, and I'm happy to pass it along to Amanda if she wants to add. We're currently waiting for Prop 5, the legislation, which, if you're not familiar with Prop 5, if passed, it would lower the voter threshold to get a ballot measure from 2/3 to 55%, correct? Correct, so down to 55%. It started as ACA 1, transitioned to ACA 10, now Proposition 5. So that will be on the ballot this November. So that is one key component of the feasibility study. Additionally, there are deed restrictions on that property up there for passive recreation. So our two districts have been in conversations with the county and with CTC on that. So we're kind of in a hold and wait mode, but we're still extremely excited about it. The community's extremely excited about it, and so we're going to know a lot more after November. I don't know, man, did you have anything to add?
I'm not sure if we need to back up. If we need to back up 10, 30 years. The active recreation assessment has been a joint project with Tahoe City PUD, North Tahoe PUD, as well as Placer County to study whether or not a recreation and aquatic center should be built on the North Shore. And we've identified a variety of different, and through that process, it was a 3-year process. I started 2.5 years ago, so through the 3-year process, some of the things included in it was polling the community. Would we even want something like this? What would go into something like this? Where would we put it? And then that honed down into identifying this location that Indra was speaking to, that Dollar Hill would be the best location. It's called the Firestone property on Dollar Hill, currently owned by CTC.
owned by county.
And sorry, thank you. Thank you.
Deed restricted by CTC.
Okay, yes, so there's their alphabet soup that even when you're in it, you get mixed up. So thank you for that clarification. Owned by Placer County, deed restricted by CTC. So in order to build on that land, we would need to further our partnerships with Placer County and CTC. But if you back up even further, so last year we were in the design process, a very overview design. What could a recreation center look like? What are the features that could go into it? So we did a high-level process of, here's a recreation center, here's an aquatic center, it would have a pool, it would have 2 pools, it would have some area for community classrooms, some area for fitness and working out. And this is the best location for it. But we don't have the funding for it. So if we were going to build this center, it would need a ballot initiative that funded a bond. So what he was speaking to specifically is what would that ballot initiative entail? We polled the community last year, and it came back with about 50, somewhere in the upper 50% of people would actually support being taxed to build something like this. But in order to pass it, it needs a 2/3 supermajority. So the ACA 1 would have lowered that threshold down to 55%. But right now, that ACA 1 is no longer on the ballot for the November election. It got changed to Proposition 5, and so we're monitoring how that proposition's planning forward. We are also working with Placer County and CTC. Should that proposition pass, all the parties are kind of aware and willing to discuss further land acquisition and land partnerships. But it's a cart before the horse situation. Without that ballot, that proposition passing, there's not a lot of need at the moment to work on those land restrictions.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for being put on the spot. Just, one more step back in how this worked with our Park and Trail Master Plan. This was an issue that came up quite loudly in the North Tahoe area. The demand for indoor recreation, the demand for an indoor pool, the demand for this kind of rec. As far as we got in our master plan, we said this is a wonderful aspirational project. We listed it in our aspirational capital improvements. But the caveat to that is it needs a whole lot more work. And so the 2 PUDs, North Tahoe and Tahoe City, got together formally, got some of their own money, got some county money from TOT, and did a really pretty deep dive into what it would take, what it should look like, what the appetite is, both the need and the willingness to pay. And so we really applaud them for taking off from that plan and getting much more detailed. And we do hope that we can figure out it'd be a cool amenity. So I hope it can get pulled off. It'd be great. So we'll keep you, as things come up, things develop, we'll make sure that we have you guys back and do a more in-depth presentation on this active plan, as it looks like it's becoming more of a reality, so.
Yeah, and I would just add that the active rec assessment wasn't just the feasibility study on a potential new facility for the 2 districts. It was also provided a lot of recommendations on each of our existing facilities and amenities. So it almost serves as somewhat of a roadmap and a master plan for the other amenities that we currently own, operate, and manage. So yeah. So thanks, Andy, for the question.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item. Item B is North Tahoe Regional Trail System Strategic and Fiscal Analysis. And the presenter is Andy Fisher.
All right. If I may, Mr. Chair, I just noticed that the Park Dedication Fee Fund Analysis Report was included in item number 6, and I skipped over it. And it will be pertinent to some of the informational items that we're going to get into here. So if I might back up just a little bit, I'll give you a quick update on the
Let's combine the two.
Fee fund balance.
Thank you.
There's really just a couple of line items on here. You can see it up on the screen, and hopefully you have it in your packets. I wanted to draw your attention to Area 5 and Area 6, Meta Vista, Auburn area, and City of Lincoln. So since this report, this is an August report, at our last board meeting in September, and Lisa will get into more detail on the project itself, but I just wanted you to be aware that the board appropriated $275,000 from Area 5. So that drops that $793,000 by $275,000. And City of Lincoln Area 6 appropriated $200,000. That was to Hidden Falls Expansion Phase 2. which you'll hear about in a minute, but I just wanted you to be aware of those expenditures not reflected here because they're fresh appropriations. Granite Bay area, your commission, this is Area 10. Your commission heard a presentation from Eureka School and $1 million request for renovation of fields at their Cabot School. I can't remember when it was that you heard it. We did have to wait a little while the school district got their environmental document done. They've done that now, so we'll be moving forward to the board. Being not aware of any controversy over that project, I have no reason to think it won't be appropriated, but we'll keep you updated. But I just wanted you to be aware that's a pending $1 million request on Area 10.
Thank you.
Those are the ones that I did want to cover. So if there's any other questions on the fund balance, the park fee report, I'll pause for a moment and then be ready to move on to item 7B. Hearing none.
Any comments? I see none. And Andy?
Okay. So it's pretty rare that we'll have you on a tour and a whole day commitment coming up here and a meeting with no action items, but that is the case today, but it is not for no reason. So almost everything you were doing today was homework for action items that will be coming forward. I mentioned in the administrator's report the West Placer Rec study. Our other probably biggest study that we've just launched is going to be our Tahoe Trails study. And to give you a little background, this is the overall backbone trail plan out of our Park and Trail Master Plan. You'll recognize that black trails are paved and tan and green trails are dirt. So we have two huge, big regional metropolitan loop trails, one in the west, the American River Parkway and the Dry Creek Parkway, and then the big one in the east that you can see around Lake Tahoe. And I've blown this one up because it shows all of Lake Tahoe. The next map will auger down into the Placer County portion. But this vision that's been in place for generations, since the 70s, has been to build the Tahoe Bikeway, which is a paved, separated trail all the way around Lake Tahoe. And then off of that, in kind of a figure 8 configuration, would be what we call the Resort Triangle. So that comes off of the Tahoe Bikeway at Tahoe City, goes up the Truckee River to Olympic Valley, proceeds up the Truckee River to the town of Truckee, through the town of Truckee, through Martis Valley, which is part of what you toured today, eventually over Brockway Summit to North Tahoe Regional Park, which you've toured today, and then to Kings Beach. So that's the great vision, is a separated paved trail system that touches every community in the entire Tahoe region in a figure 8 pattern. And then there's a little blow up. Hopefully you can see that to get a little more detailed about the Placer County portion. So solid black and solid blue, solid anything is trails that's already there, and dotted trails are trails that are still yet to be built. The blue trails along Highway 89 corridor, along the west shore of Lake Tahoe from Dollar Point, clear down into El Dorado County and Meeks Bay, are trails that have been constructed and are owned and maintained by the Tahoe City Public Utility District. So they really are the visionary agency within this entire trail system, going back to the time when our supervisor Gustafson was at Tahoe City Public Utility District. Before her, she was hired with Tahoe City PUD as a grants coordinator to bring in grants, mostly to build that trail. That was what she did. Very successful at it, as her successors have been as well. And so out of this entire Resort Triangle Tahoe Bikeway system that we're working on, to complete the sections within Placer County will require 66 miles. Today, 28.5 miles are built. And of that, 23 miles are owned and operated by Tahoe City PUD. So we got to give a lot of hats off to Tahoe City PUD. They've been pioneering in all of this. We've worked with developers who built the Olympic Valley Trail for us, so it goes from Highway 89 up into Olympic Valley. Sections left to be built are along the Highway 89 corridor. The town of Truckee passed a sales tax to support their trails, so they're very actively building their sections to connect Highway 89 to 267 corridor that you saw today. In fact, since this map came out, some of those sections have been built, so there's more in the town of Truckee built than shows there. You saw Martis Valley today. Then coming back over to the Tahoe Basin, the county did build 2 miles of trail from Dollar Point. That happens to be right at the district boundary between Tahoe City and North Tahoe PUD. So at that point, and it was on that Firestone property that Amanda was just talking about. So county owned the property, county had federal money and was able to build that trail, and we maintain that. So there's new sections of trail that are approaching shovel-ready. The Public Works Department of Tahoe is working on the sections to connect Dollar Point, the Dollar Creek Trail, to the North Tahoe Regional Park. So that could be the next section under construction within a year or two. And optimistically, I think, but realistically, optimistically, we could see that connection to the North Tahoe Regional Park to Dollar Point within the next 3 to 5 years. So it is active, it is happening. You also heard today the next section of the Martis Valley Trail up to the village came in but the bid came in high, so we are beating the bushes to find another $1.5 million, hopefully find that over the winter and get that under construction next year. So to complete this 66-mile section, we've done some rough analysis ourselves. We know what trails cost to be built. They cost between $2 and $14 million a mile, depending on the infrastructure and the environmental hurdles. So widely variant, very expensive. It's like building a small road system. Indra can tell you, the cost to maintain these trails, they're fairly expensive during the year. They cost about $5,000 a mile just to maintain them, sweep them, pick up the trash, maintain your signs, those kind of things. But the big expense is what you need to set aside for when they need major rehabilitation. You need to set aside upwards of $15,000 per mile per year. And that hasn't been done, frankly, anywhere in the West and the East. Really nobody has been fully funding maintenance, major maintenance for these trails. So you add all that up, what is it going to take to finish this trail system construction-wise, and what is it going to take to maintain it? We've got about $100 million to $150 million cumulative construction cost ahead of us, and probably upwards of $1.5 million a year set aside to maintain it that's currently unfunded. So we have the board just appropriated some more of that TOT funding you've been hearing about all day, $200,000, and we are just inking a contract right now with Design Workshop to bring all of the stakeholders together, which would be the PUDs, the state, federal government, lots of stakeholders, TRPA, SACOG, a whole bunch of stakeholders together, and ask that question, a number of questions. How do we get there? How do you build momentum, and how do you position this trail for federal grant funding, which is really what you're talking about tapping at this level for $100 million. There isn't recreation money of $100 million available. So how do you position this trail in terms of not just its recreational benefits, but its alternative transportation benefits, so that you are prepared to get that kind of money? Where are we going to get the money to maintain it over time? And how do you prioritize it? So we go to apply for park fees. We go to the board, the Tahoe Community Association board, North Tahoe Community Association. We say we really want $1 million this year for this section of trail, and they say, well, okay, but you get all that. How do we know that that million is the best million for that piece? So this study is going to prioritize those trail segments. Going to lay out the criteria by which we should prioritize shovel readiness, user demand, all those kind of things. It's going to look at some of the use functions. The demand for plowing and now grooming is becoming more and more prevalent. That in itself is pretty high. You'll spend more per mile grooming a trail in the winter than you will maintaining it in the summer. So what is it? I want to say $5,000-$6,000 per mile per year, roughly.
Do you guys make a distinction between grooming for cross-country and plowing for bike Ted.
We do not in our trail system, we strictly plow them, down to the pavement. We do have, we have cross-country skiing there, golf course, and the winter cross-country.
Gotcha, so we're talking grooming, well, in this case.
So we're not grooming, we're actually.
Plowing down the
We're
pavement.
plowing.
So just kind of back to those questions, prioritization. We want to refine those costs. We know in very rough figures what it costs to build per mile, but there will be an element getting out within, it's not going to it's not going to provide construction documents, but get out and kind of do some alignment analysis. What are those barriers out there? Is there a waterway to cross? That's, what are the things that are going to drive costs? What are the support amenities that need to go with this trail? Do we have enough parking? Do we have enough? Actually, one really great question or comment that came up when we introduced this to the board a couple weeks ago was from a lady local to Kings Beach saying, it's just, I take my bike everywhere, but there aren't very many facilities to park and lock up your bike. Well, great comment, thank you. So it's that kind of thing. What are all the support amenities that we need to support this trail system? What are the different benefits in addition to recreation? You've got congestion mitigation. You're going to get cars off of the roads. I think Tahoe City did some polling, and I'm looking for it. I think I have it here. I'm just not putting my eyes on it. But I think over half of the people, nearly half the people that you polled said, we would be in a car if this trail wasn't here. So it genuinely is alternative transportation. And as Brad's been saying a number of times today, the e-bike revolution is even driving that much higher because you can go further, you can go up and down further, you get a much broader demographic who can get on a bike and use those trails. So all of those kind of things. It's an air quality issue, which is very near and dear to the priorities of Lake Tahoe. Connecting employment centers to workforce housing, all of those kind of things that this trail is going to do. This study is a little bit maybe backwards, you could say, of most studies. Most reach out to the community and gather a lot of public opinion and a lot of public needs first, and it will do that. It does want to gather public needs assessment, but we also kind of know what the project is, so we're not asking from scratch. I think initially it's going to be very heavy on stakeholder engagement, the people that are already involved in the trail, the people that are making decisions, that are already spending money on the trail. And so we want to get that kind of refinement first and then publicize it to the community and get that feedback. We also want to be able to brand this trail. I think TRPA several years ago made a good effort of coming up with some branding. They came up with logos for the East Shore Trail, North Shore, very classy looking, and kind of tied it all together with some identifiable markings and crests and things like that for the trail. It could go beyond that. But those are the goals of this study that we just launched with Design Workshop, same company that we've been talking about a lot today that worked with us on our Park and Trail Master Plan, the Active Recreation Study, the Sea-Cline Beach Study. So they've just become kind of a staple expert in the community. We put out a request for qualifications. Originally, we got no responses, so because of that, we were able to just reach out to Design Workshop individually. We were able to kind of refine a scope and negotiate with them. It's a $200,000 contract with Design Workshop, and that's getting completed probably within the next couple weeks. So we will be in touch with your commission. You are definitely stakeholders, and you will be along for this.
So Andy, when is the draft going to be done for the study? Is there going to be a draft done? You said there's design review going on, or concept review, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the contract right now, and Kyle working on it might be able to help. But I know the entirety of the project is about a 9-month project. So, but you asked about draft. When do we get to first draft?
Yeah.
Is that something that's fresh in your mind?
Yeah, I want to say it's about 24 weeks or so from when we start and get the contract signed, which should be coming up. So start counting down from now, I suppose.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that conclude your report, Andy?
It does, yeah, just looking through, I think I've covered everything, yeah.
And is that specific North Tahoe Regional Trail System, does that touch Nevada County? Truckee?
In Truckee, yeah, within the town of Truckee, it does, yeah.
Gotcha, so that would include the river trail connecting 89 to 267.
It would come, yeah, it comes from, so the Legacy Trail that they call it, going out the Truckee River, they actually have plans to take it all the way to Pyramid Lake eventually. I mean, they've got big plans. Our study doesn't go any further than the loop within the town of Truckee. But yeah, the net result at the end of the day is that this connects you even to far more along the I-80 corridor, clear down to Reno at some point along the Truckee River.
Right, but is it scoping out detail on non-Placer County properties, or are you spending the money on Placer County geography?
We recognize what Truckee is doing north of the county line. We're not spending money on what Truckee's doing. We're just kind of recognizing it and coordinating on where we connect.
They'll take it from here to here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but the money's being spent on what we're doing in Placer County and just coordinating those touch points and recognizing their connectivity.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, thank you, Andy, and we'll move on to the next one. Item C, which is countywide fuels management process.
Oh, other direction, sorry.
Casey, we'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thank you. I've had the opportunity the last couple years to come present to your commission on the countywide fuel load management that we've been working on after our board awarded $1 million a year, and we're in the third year of that now. So over the last couple of years, I've come once a year and presented, what we've been working on. Today's a good opportunity to present the current stuff because it really overlaps what we looked at today. I've got some information. I put together a couple slides. This might have been Andy's. I don't know if you missed this one, Andy, but.
No, that's mine.
So did we?
That was mine. That's okay.
Oh. So I put together a little bit of information here to kind of go over. We stopped at Cisco Grove. You guys got to see that. We're working with the Donner Group. Pat, she actually called me on after we left. She's real excited about coming up and seeing the progress through that project there to clean up some of the foundations and that property. So really utilizing the countywide fuel load money to not only protect the communities with reducing the fire risk, but also using that to really improve our sites, to make the trails better and just overall really huge improvements to the sites. So Cisco Grove, it's about 8 acres. We just went through our bid process with procurement, and it was awarded to Bella Forestry for $48,000. So I got a meeting tomorrow with them. We're going to walk the site, schedule, and hopefully get started next week. So we're going to start moving on that project, which is real exciting. So then we get into the Cabin Creek property. The county owns 144 acres on Cabin Creek here in Truckee, just up 89. It's the old landfill. So there's the TART facility where the buses, snow plows, the county TART yard is with all the equipment, mechanics and all that, and then the old landfill, which is still a transfer station. The county owns all the land around that. We worked with the National Forest Foundation to piggyback on a project that they're working for the Forest Service, which is 1,000+ acres around that. They originally came to the county looking for a right of entry to cross the county property into their project. And at that time, with Andy and some other staff, we realized that this might be an opportunity to have the contractor that's doing the Forest Service project to also do our fuel load management on our property. While they're there with the equipment, maybe we can get a really good deal. So that actually happened. I worked with the National Forest Service. We got the scope of work written up, went out to bid with their project, was awarded to Robinsons, and we got a $151,000 bid back, which was way less than I was expecting to go if the county was to go out on their own. We actually expected closer to 400,000. So we applied for a grant with CAL FIRE and were awarded that grant afterwards, after the fact. So we're actually in a really good situation now with extra funds to accomplish this fuel load project. We've been in contact with Robinsons, and probably next spring we'll be starting work on that Cabin Creek project. So it was a really good collaboration with other agencies to accomplish work on top of their much larger project. So that was pretty exciting. And then to kind of piggyback on a lot of stuff we've been looking at today, in Tahoe Vista, we're still working off of a grant that was awarded last year from the Conservancy, and it was a total of 658,000 plus, and we seem to be coming in well under that, so that grant has been really well funded for the county sites that we have in the basin. We're looking at, we have about 14 separate parcels that we're going to be accomplishing here in the near future, and I'm going to try to schedule that. We're always coming up against snow in the basin and this region, so I don't know if we're going to be able to squeeze it in this season, but we might get part of that done. So it's the same contractor actually was awarded Tahoe Vista and Cisco Grove. And he's also working on a bunch of properties in Tahoe that the county has a separate program where property owners can get up to $5,000 to help treat their properties. I don't personally directly work with that program, so I don't have a bunch of information on it. But the same contractor, Bella Forestry, is working in Tahoe, working on a lot of those properties for the county. So this is going to be, a pretty good partnership with them. So yeah, just wanted to come in, touch base with the commission, present this information to you guys again. Like I said, I've been able to do it the last couple seasons. And just kind of show you guys what we've been working on with the fire fuel load reduction. So, with that, do you guys have any questions or anything regarding the fire fuel load reduction or anything that we've been working on?
So Tahoe Vista's got 14 separate parcels that are identified as Placer County
That's correct.
woods. I mean,
Open space.
there's open space somewhere, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe along roadsides, stuff like that too?
Exactly. Yeah, they could be, paper roads. We actually drove by 4 of them today when we went up National.
Yeah.
To the right, there was a bridge, a small bridge in an open space area. That's actually a couple of the parcels.
So across from the trailer park.
Exactly. Yeah, so parcels like that, those they don't need much treatment. We'll come in, take a couple of the smaller trees out, do some proper spacing, skirt some trees up, thin out some of the brush. Those are gonna be super easy. There's some more complicated parcels we have up off of King and here in the basin that we're gonna be working on. And then I'm gonna put together, hopefully next season, a package for Kings Beach, which is very similar. About the same amount of acreage, about the same amount of parcels. The Seacline Beach we just went to, 2 of the parcels are right there that we just looked at that are county owned. So those are the types of parcels that we're trying to go in and be responsible property owners, set good examples for, other property owners or neighbors, so people can look at county-owned property and understand that's how property should be maintained.
And that 658,000 doesn't run out calendar-wise, it's spent out.
No, we projected to try to complete the project in 3 years. We're pretty well on schedule with that.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, I don't think there was a time frame. I imagine maybe.
I think there is a deadline.
I think
It's
there's-
out of ways and
it
there's
was
some
out of ways.
flexibility, but we
Yeah.
seem to be well on our way to meeting
Yeah,
that, whatever it was, 2027 deadline or whatever.
By what you're talking.
I don't.
And does that 658 have the private funding integrated into that money, if anybody takes advantage of it?
No.
Private property, no?
No.
Okay, gotcha, so that's additional.
Yeah, that's state, California state money that's through the Conservancy funneled to us through a grant. And El Dorado County was very similar. because they're also on the California side of the basin, so the Conservancy funded them almost an identical grant with a real similar amount of parcels and acreage and stuff like, so they're working with multiple agencies in the basin, the Conservancy is, with this state money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How does a private property owner become aware of that available fuel reduction money?
That's a great question, and that, I'm not directly involved with that program. I've been hearing more about it, mostly through our vendors that are working on properties and some property owners. But yeah, I don't have information really on that program. I know there was a limited amount of funds, it was put out, it wasn't put out very public, I mean, there's a big need.
Yeah.
So it was limited.
We can get you that information. I know even though Parks is not the lead for the county, our CEO's office, emergency services, and I've heard Supervisor Gustafson talk about it. So I do know that there are departments within the county that are doing that public outreach to get that
Yes.
information out. So we can
We
get it to you.
actually did do some of the legwork at the beginning of the program, at least I did. And in the Placer County Fire Safe Communities website, there is a application, and it's $5,000 per, property owner, and it's essentially to help assist them get started in making their little area fire safe as well. But we can get you the website, but I'm pretty sure it's the Placer County Fire Safe Community website, so.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
I did want to take just a moment, if I could, to kind of put this work that Casey's doing in its larger context. I mean, this has dramatically broadened our line of business in the last 4 years. When the Board of Supervisors passed the Defensible Space Ordinance, they turned to us to say, we need to set a good example. What do we have county property-wise? So we had a consultant catalog and map all of our county properties and kind of rate them. And Casey, Dan, and I remember one night until about 7 o'clock at night, sat down, and during budget season, because we were asked for a number, how can you help us? And we said, it turns out of the 400 plus properties that Placer County owns, 135 of them need some level of fuels treatment. And we can do that for you for $3 million over 3 years. And all of a sudden, most of those properties are not parks. So we're now not just in the park business, we are just in the outdoors business. And it has dramatically increased. It's unbelievable to me what Dan and Casey have been able to do with that program and to make the level of progress. Not only complete it with that $3 million, but leverage it with additional grants. We are, cutting edge in getting things done on the ground while, state and federal agencies are still, months and years behind in reviews and processes. Casey's on the ground out there with people doing it, which is attracting grant money that wants to see work on the done on the ground. And so we're seeing that money come to us to leverage the money the board gave us. It's been able to allow us to buy equipment that we might not be able to efficiently buy just for our parks, masticators attachments, almost logging level equipment. It's allowed us to put together lists of vendors. We're getting these tremendously good prices from vegetation companies wanting to do business with Placer County because we're so proactive. That figure up there, the going rate for that treatment at Cabin Creek would have been around $400,000. Partly because of the scale of work going on around it, but partly because companies want to do business in Placer County because we're getting stuff done. We're getting really good economy of scale prices, not just in our parks, but throughout. So, it's a very big and pioneering and proactive, and it's great work. We've seen fires stopped at some of the work we've done. But it's huge to expand that line of business. We've been able to get contractors, we've been able to get money, we've been able to get equipment, but now we desperately need people. That really is the next discussion that we need to have with our CEO's office and with our board. We're just having trouble squeezing the turnip with the people that we have to get this work done. So yeah, as much as, like I say, if you can advocate for us in that realm, we'd really appreciate it. The county's getting a really good deal out of what Dan and Casey and their folks are doing, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's the initial treatment of properties that a lot of the properties we're working on haven't been touched in decades. So, because, you know, the fire fuel thing wasn't really a thing until after Paradise, you know, and it really sparked and everybody's rushing to try to maintain their properties before the next big fire hits. So there's the initial treatments of the properties, but then there's the ongoing maintenance to keep them that way. You know, and a lot of the fuel load money that we're using is towards grazing, towards buying the equipment to maintain these properties in the future. And then also, like Andy mentioned, if we can get the staff in-house with the proper equipment, we can maintain these properties on our own. We don't have to go out and hire the contractors to come in and do them. It's great for the initial treatments. They have the bigger equipment. They can take care of the bigger timbers and all that kind of stuff. But after that, I foresee us maintaining these properties more in-house, with the tree crew, with the fire fuel crew. So I almost forgot, but I had these maps done. So this is one of the maps that we provided in the bid package that went out. So this kind of shows that's 89 down there. I don't know if this has a pointer, but you guys can see the main highway corridor. That housing over there is Martis Camp, the backside of a lot of that where we went today. And then the highlighted areas around the old landfill. So that's the 144 acres that we are going to treat to reduce the fire risk. And then this is a highlighted map of the Cisco Grove area that we walked today. You can see the bridge that we walked across, the Cottonwood Grove, and then the foundations, the rock foundations up there to the right, the upper right there, highlighted area. So yeah, just a couple maps to show you. These are what I make to put out to bid in our bid packages for the contractors. So yeah, that's what I had to share.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the council? All right,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
You may.
During the park fee report, I referred to some items that the board just took action on from areas 5 and 6, thinking there was a line item to discuss those, which there wasn't. I failed to get a line item under informational items number 7. It is a report, and I know we have some slides in here that Lisa was going to talk about. It is a report that I believe would fit under item number 6, Administrator Staff Report, including discussion of recent actions of the Board of Supervisors. If it's okay with you, we would like to give you, Lisa, an update on the next phase of the Hidden Falls project that the board just took action on, if that's okay to take a couple minutes to do.
Let's include it in your report and we'll just go back to visit item number 6.
Thank you.
All right. Lisa?
So as you see on the map up there, we went to the board on the 10th, and this was for the Phase 2 connectivity portion. Let's see, I think there's and I don't want to blind anybody, so everybody at the table don't look my way. So this section here, that's the Twilight Ride component, and here's Bell Road for anybody who's not familiar. Auburn's down here. So this first portion that is in construction now is going to be it was originally going to be opening up to this light green area. Well, as you all know, we also recently purchased this 140 acres and this little 6.8 acres, so that we could do a bypass and we wouldn't have to go have those two very large and expensive bridges. So as we were going along, the land trust came to us and said, hey, you know, we'd really like this connectivity portion opened up at the same time you open up this parking area. So we looked at it, said, yeah, that makes sense from a management standpoint as well. So that's what we're trying to do right now. I we did get authorization from the board to put out the plans and specs and put out, solicitation. That's gone out. Bids are due back October 15th. So we'll see what we get back. Hopefully, we have a cost of $650,000 for the trail connectivity that will take us all the way over and connect with what's in Hidden Falls right now, where you can kind of see it better down here. So here's where the trail system will come in. It'll cross over onto the 140, onto the 6.8 acres, and then connect with the existing trail system within Hidden Falls. There will be 3 bridges, but they'll be small. They're about 21 to 26 feet, so much smaller than the original bridges, much less cost. And by purchasing those 2 parcels there and rerouting the trail, we saved the taxpayers millions of dollars. So it was a good deal all around. And like Andy said earlier, $275,000 came from Auburn Meadow Vista, $200,000 from the Lincoln area, and then $175,000 came from the fuel load reduction that Casey's doing, but it didn't come from that pot. That pot has 2 separate pots in it. One is for the fuel load reduction, the other one is for the trails. And so it's something that they put together, 2 different pots, so we're only taking from the trails component of that. So yeah, that's kind of the update. I'm excited to see what we get back as far as bids. Hopefully we get some good bids back that are in that, less than $650,000 realm.
Yeah, so, good luck on that.
Thank you. Yeah. We're fairly confident that, because we did some truth checking to that number, so it wasn't just, picked out of the sky. So we're hoping that the bids come in well.
All right, good deal. All right, moving on to item 8 is action items, and we have no action items. So we'll move on to item number 9, commissioner comments. And may we start with Ann? Do you have any comments?
Just want to say thanks for another great and informative day. Every time we do this, I learn something new about the county that I live in. And it's always nice for me to be able to come up here and get out of the heat at the same time. So thank you, all of you, for all the information.
Yeah, piggybacking on what Ann said, you guys always do a great job when we have these meetings, and they are very informative and well put together and very thoughtful, so thank you for that.
And I appreciated the park tours today and seeing what's happening up in the Tahoe area and the vision that you folks have and the work that you've done and the planning from the architects that you're using to your project management. It just really looks good.
Yeah, the North Tahoe PUD project is quite impressive. Thank you very much. And what I really liked today too was meeting those folks from the Donner Summit Association and them getting a hold of that section and saying, we can fix this right here. And with a modest, what was it, 100 and something?
90,000 today, yeah, we could add to that.
That's not being neglected, those small alcoves are not being neglected by Lake Tahoe or Roseville or those kinds of places. So I appreciated that. And it reminds me of when we visited Royal Gorge, when that was about 4 or 5 years ago. That neck of the woods, isolated, needs to be still recognized by Auburn. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you. I learned a lot, and thank you for the staff and utilities that came to help out here, and it was well worth the time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. Next item is item 10, the next Parks Commission meeting for discussion or confirmation, and this is a potential special meeting in October.
So we wanted to get a sense of your willingness and ability and schedules. We may have an item, it looks like, to come before the Board of Supervisors in November, which would be several pieces of Hidden Falls expansion related, very important documents. So one would be a memorandum of understanding with the Placer Land Trust for what happens, how we work together when we get people on their property. Another is a vegetation management plan, and a third is an emergency access plan for that property. Those are all things that were requested by the Planning Commission. They're things that are needed for that property. As you know, you just saw from Lisa, we're about to build the connectivity trail. We're under construction with the Twilight Ride parking lot. It's coming along very well, by the way. Expect that to be open mid-year next year. We've told the public in many meetings that we would give them an opportunity to see these documents. They're eager to see them. And so we were thinking it may be a good venue to bring that to the commission. I'm not sure about pinpointing a date yet. We would need to get back to you on exactly when that date was in advance of the Board of Supervisors, but we thought it might be a good venue to bring it out to the public and to your commission before we go to the board in late October. And then we would go to the board with that in November. So that'd give a little window for folks to see that. And then potentially even kind of leave you off the hook for a meeting in November. It falls the week before Thanksgiving. I think everybody's got stuff going on by then. So unless there's any action items in November, we might just replace the November meeting with a late October meeting. If there's no objection to that, we can just work on that and get it planned out in more detail, let you all know.
Discuss any of that now with your pointer, since we got it on the screen? Or is it premature? Because
It's a little premature to discuss it now, so it'd be better just to have.
deal with it then.
Okay, and then Andy, is it premature to set a date, like the 17th, which is the third Thursday? Or is that premature?
How would the 24th be as a tentative?
May I have a show of hands of who can make it on the 24th? Okay, it looks like we have a quorum.
Okay. We'll set that as a tentative, and then we'll confirm that over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
And that would be half a day?
That would be a regular evening meeting,
Oh.
beginning at our normal.
All right, so we're not going to view the site, we're just going to meet
Correct.
and go over it, okay.
Yeah,
It's, yes,
To allow the public to come in
Oh.
and view it before it goes to the board and
On paper?
on paper and
Yeah, yeah.
on the, yeah,
Yeah, not in actual
right,
out there.
right.
and I will say this, that, probably would be a meeting with a fair amount of public interest to be there, so.
All right.
Make sure that we've got a suitable venue to hold some extra public folks.
Okay, so with that discussion, the end result is we have a quorum that can meet on October 24th.
Very good.
Okay, got it. All right, and with that, without further ado, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.